The death of Pope Francis has sparked speculation that the next leader of the Catholic Church could come from Africa. Three Africans are in the running to succeed Pope Francis: Fridolin Ambongo Basungu from the Republic of the Congo, Peter Codwo Appiah Turkson from Ghana, and Robert Serra from Guinea. But the Church has had African leaders before. Historians believe there were three popes with ties to the African continent, the most recent of them over 1,500 years ago. All of them are believed to have been of North African origin. This is because the Roman Empire stretched across areas that today correspond to Tunisia, northeastern Algeria, and the western coast of Libya. Before the establishment of Islam, Christianity had a strong presence in the region. According to Professor Christopher Belitto from Keene University in the United States, North Africa was a biblical belt of early Christianity. Although little is known about the personal lives of the last three African popes, historians agree that all of them played a significant role in the early history of the Catholic Church. All three were recognized as saints by the Church. Victor I, 189 to 199 AD. Pope Victor I is believed to have been of Berber origin, from the native peoples of North Africa, and he led the Catholic Church during a period of sporadic persecution of Christians who refused to accept and worship Roman gods. He might be best known for establishing that the celebration of Easter should always be held on a Sunday. In the 2nd century, some Christian groups in the Roman province of Asia, modern-day Turkey, celebrated Easter on the same day the Jews observed their liberation from slavery in Egypt, which could fall on different days of the week. However, Christians in the western part of the empire believed that Jesus had risen on a Sunday, so Easter should always be celebrated on that day. The debate over when the resurrection happened led to a significant controversy within the Church and symbolized larger conflicts between the East and West, related to whether Christians should follow Jewish practices. To resolve this deadlock, Victor IV called the First Synod of Rome, a meeting of church leaders. He did this by threatening to excommunicate bishops who refused to follow his directives. He was a very firm voice in getting everyone literally on the same page, said Belitto. This was an impressive feat, according to Belitto, since he was the Bishop of Rome at a time when Christianity was still illegal in the Roman Empire. Another important part of Victor I's legacy was the introduction of Latin as the common language of the Catholic Church. Before that, ancient Greek was the primary language used in Catholic liturgy and official communications of the Church. Victor III himself wrote and spoke Latin, a language widely spoken in North Africa. Miltiades, 311 to 314 AD. Pope Miltiades is believed to have been born in Africa. During his papacy, Christianity became increasingly accepted by successive Roman emperors, eventually becoming the official religion of the empire. Before that, the persecution of Christians had been recorded at various points in the history of the empire. But Professor Belitto points out that Miltiades was not directly responsible for this change. He was more of a beneficiary of Roman benevolence than a great negotiator. The Roman Emperor Constantine gave Miltiades a palace, making him the first pope to have an official residence. He also received permission from Constantine to build the Lateran Basilica, today the oldest public church in Rome. Although modern popes live and work in the Vatican, the Lateran Church is sometimes referred to in Catholicism as the mother of all churches. Gelasius I, 492 to 496 AD. Gelasius I is the only one of the three popes whom historians believe was not born in Africa. There is a reference to him being born in Rome, so we don't know if he ever lived in North Africa, but clearly he had origins there, explains Belitto. According to the professor, Gelasius I was the most significant of the three African leaders of the Church. He is widely known as the first pope to be officially called Vicar of Christ, a term that reinforced the pope's role as Christ's representative on earth. He also developed the so-called doctrine of the two swords, Miltiades, which advocates for the separation but equal importance of the powers of the Church and the state. Gelasius I made a crucial distinction by asserting that both powers were granted by God to the Church, which then delegated earthly power to the state, making the Church ultimately superior. Later on, popes tried to veto the choice of an emperor or king, because they said God had given them that power. Belito explained, Gelasius I is also remembered for his response to the Acacian Schism, a split between Eastern and Western Christian churches between 484 and 519. During this period, he asserted the supremacy of Rome and the papacy over the entire Catholic Church, both East and West, something that, according to experts, went further than any of his predecessors had done. Gelasius I is also responsible for a popular celebration that is still observed every year. He established St. Valentine's Day on February 14th, 496, to honor the Christian martyr St. Valentine. Some accounts say Valentine was a kind of priest who continued to secretly perform marriages even when they were banned by Emperor Claudius II. Historians believe that Valentine's Day has roots in the ancient Roman fertility and love festival, Lupercalia, and that Gelasius I's decision was an attempt to Christianize a pagan tradition. What did the African popes look like? According to Professor Belito, it's impossible to know for sure what these three popes looked like. We need to remember that in the Roman Empire and even in the Middle Ages, people didn't think about race the way we think about it today. It had nothing to do with skin color, he told. People in the Roman Empire dealt with ethnicity, not race, he added. Philomena Moora, an associate professor of religious studies at Kenyatta University in Nairobi, highlights that Roman Africa was multicultural, made up of Berber peoples, Punic groups, freed former slaves, and people from Rome. The North African community was quite diverse, and it also sat on a trade route for many involved in the antiquities trade, she explained. Instead of identifying with specific ethnic groups, she says, most people living in the areas of the Roman Empire identified as Roman. Why hasn't there been another African pope? It is believed that after Gelasius I, there hasn't been another pope of African origin. The Catholic Church in North Africa was weakened by many forces, including the fall of the Roman Empire and the Muslim incursions in the 7th century, said Professor Moora. Despite this, some experts say the prevalence of Islam in the region alone doesn't explain the absence of an African pope over the last 2 millennia. According to Belito, the process for electing a new pope became an Italian monopoly over time. However, he argues that the chances of a pope coming from Asia or Africa in the coming decades are high, as the number of Catholics in the Southern Hemisphere surpasses that in the Northern Hemisphere. Indeed, Catholicism is expanding faster in sub-Saharan Africa today than anywhere else. Recent data shows there were 281 million Catholics in Africa in 2023. That accounts for 20% of the global congregation. But Professor Moora argues that while Christianity is very strong in Africa, the power of the church is still in the north, where the resources have always been. Maybe as this continues to grow and become something very strong within the continent, the time will come when we'll have an African pope, she said. These 3 African popes left a significant legacy in the history of the Catholic Church, shaping practices and doctrines that still endure today. Their importance, though often forgotten, still resonates in modern Christianity. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.